Cooling all beings. Letting all beings.
Can I get a man for everybody out there in free Karen Read universe? What's going on? I'm your host, DJ, and we have a special guest tonight that just showed up in the studio, and I am so happy because I didn't know where this brother was at, but he's tracking like nobody's business because he is what they call a professional. Do you know what I'm saying? A professional. All right. Oh wait, and there goes the applause again. All right. So yeah, I discovered this brother very shortly. By the way, Julie, hello, good evening, my friend. Thank you so much for being here, as well as the rest of you in the chat. Hello, Janine, the Pilgrim Shadow, Miss Jessica, and BOGG, who is going to come on later and ask a question of the glare. Analyze did not know that she had to be on air, so she's given me a question to ask the glare tonight. Phoebe, man, all the stuff you're putting out, you give like so much really interesting, cool, informative, and dope information. So thank you, Phoebe MC. Appreciate you. LC, what's up? Ditto, howdy from Texas. What's up, homie? It's where I went to basic training. And then I see Wit. I love it. Some of these names are super creative, but I tell you what, we have to get to our guest here. So I'm really interested in tonight because I've watched his show, and he's able to sort of take these very complex pieces of information, much like Mike does, and distill them down into something that the audience can understand, especially when we're talking about a lot of legalese, and most of us have not been to law school, save for a few of you out there. And he's able to put that information out, and he is straight fire with his stuff, man. He's not taking no crap from anybody here. So I'm very intrigued to learn about this gentleman this evening. So with that, party people, put those hands together for Will the Glare. Can I get an amen for Will? Yeah. That is what I am talking about, Will.
Man, I need to upgrade my my applause. My applause is way lamer than that, dude. I need to upgrade. That's like thunderous.
Well, you deserve it, man. I am so happy that you're here. I've been watching you for months. Calling All Beings had just taken a foray into true crime, where one of our members of the show, whom none of you are aware of just because they only do the UFO Bigfoot stuff, she went and did an investigation in Pennsylvania for a missing mother, 44-year-old mother. And it got really dangerous when it turned out there was a mob connection. That's when while she was there, I became aware of the Karen Read trial. And then I, saw obviously Turtle Boy and Mike and yourself and Mazza and then Nurse Kim and Sean. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to start talking about Karen Read. So it hasn't been that long, but I have dove in like head first. So
right on. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much what I did. I always kind of talked about crime cases, but I was more part of this very dark part of the crime community, and I was so arrogant to think that I could get people to try to actually look at these people like they're actually people instead of just characters in some Lifetime movie. And then I failed. People want what they want, and they're going to look at things the way they're going to look at them, and they're going to judge people the way they're going to judge people. And but then I just separated myself from that community, and then I started looking into this case, and I decided to just do it live.
Absolutely.
So I mean, some might find that to be boring content, and it was risky, but the thing is there was a whole that I wasn't aware of, an entire community of people that were seriously affected by this case, and they have been supportive of me since that first live stream that I did, just kind of educating myself on it. And yeah, this is easily the most definitely the best community I've ever been a part of. Easily, like the most caring and the most yeah, just empathetic, good people.
Yeah, this small group of content creators that we have, what I love, because I started off in the MMA community for like a decade, and then 3 years ago, I had a UFO sighting as a kid, so I started doing. And by the way, everybody, this show is not about me. I'm just trying to give Will a sense of who I am because he probably has no idea who I am. And so I'm a former military guy, aviator type. And when the David Fravor, the Navy guy, talked about that Tic Tac encounter he had off the coast of California, and he was on 60 Minutes along with his wingman, I decided, okay, I'm going to start talking about UFOs and the disclosure of it. And there's a figure there named Lou Elizondo, who's very much a Sean McDonough. And there's a person there named Mick West, who's a debunker, who's very much a Plevin. So it's interesting, the parallels. But I didn't come here to talk about me. I really am interested in, if you would start off, I've been dying to ask you this question. Who is Will the Glare? Because you look like a musician or something. Who is Will the Glare?
Exactly what you see on my channel. Um, I'm just lucky enough to get to do this, and this is what I'm like if I'm just hanging out with people, you know. So yeah, I'm just grateful that people for some reason are entertained by it. So I just stick to what works, which is just being myself. Can't go wrong there, you know, until people just don't like it anymore, and it is what it is. What are you gonna do? So I'm just grateful and I'm just enjoying it.
I'm the same way. I do what I do, and some people like it, and some people don't, and that's okay. You know, I mean, that's fine. Same could be said for all of us. For Turtle Boy, you know, we love what Turtle Boy's doing. Some people are turned off by him. That's their issue. But the larger issue, what he's doing, is so courageous and so important. You have that similar courage that he does. I know you're inspired by him. I think all of us are.
I would never presume to even compare myself to Turtle Boy because Turtle Boy actually does work. What I do, I don't consider work at all.
Totally, yeah.
Like jokingly, I recently like I put there in the you know, I jokingly I'm calling myself an independent commentator. But that's just to be humorous because it's just to kind of take jabs at Sue O'Connell for being half-assed when it comes to this case. So, you know, I mean, she's a commentator, so you talk. So why aren't you talking about this? Like, you're talking a lot, but you're not saying anything. So
Nothing meaningful.
Right. So I've donned the I've donned the self-title of independent commentator. That's me. So yeah.
And so are you a musician of some sort or a music person or no?
I was.
You were.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I haven't picked up my guitar. I mean, my guitar is over there with brand new strings, but the neck is warped on it, and I don't even touch it anymore. But I'm considering buying gear, like, you know, and then seeing if there's anybody who wants to throw down and make noise. But the problem is if I go down that rabbit hole, man, it's an expensive it's an expensive thing to get into, man. And I don't know if I want to do all that all over again.
Well,
I'm old now, and it's just like, you know, and I'd have
please.
just as much fun. I'd have just as much fun as I ever did. I know it, but it's so expensive.
Yeah.
It is.
I know it's like one of my buddies talking to me. Hey, you want to get into flying again? Because I haven't flown in years as a private pilot, but I do have a pilot's license, and I'm like, man, it is so expensive. I gotta sell my motorcycle, maybe
Yeah.
sell my mountain bikes,
Like,
whatever, just
do
to
I want to
afford
play
it.
music again that
Mm.
bad? You know what I mean? Like, and if I had the goal to, it's ironic because if I had the goal to, I don't know, make money doing it,
Hmm.
then, okay. But then when that happens, it becomes work. And then I don't enjoy it. And then the quality of the music is not going to be as good. I know this for a fact because I was in a band and all I thought about was, oh man, I want to do this all the time. And then and we tried so hard and we were frustrated and we argued all the time and blah 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 blah. And then the next thing I know, we broke up, didn't do anything for a long time. And then a buddy who would come by the tattoo shop from time to time would we just started talking about it because he used to play and then we were just like, yeah, let's just do it just to make noise and have fun. And
Hmm.
then when we were only thinking about just making noise and having fun was when the good shows started to come along and we got to open for bands that we liked and things like that. And that, so the irony there is if I buy musical equipment, I'm going to be wasting money.
Right,
I'm gonna lose money. You know what
right.
I mean? Like I'm not gonna get anything out of that except for joy that may or may not even happen. Like I'm not gonna go out and try to start a band. You know what I mean? Like I'm not gonna go out and buy gear. Or well, I'm not gonna go out and try to start a band without having any gear, and then I'm not gonna go out and buy gear if I don't even know I'm gonna be able to put a band together, So I mean, I'm old, like, and I don't want to play music with a bunch of young entitled douchebags. I want to play music with old bitter assholes like
Cr-
me. you
So
know
I'm thinking of the FKR band, and it's you, it's Mike. Sean also is a guitar player. So I can't remember. Somebody said they sing. I don't remember who said that they could sing. Oh, maybe it was Mizzy. So I mean, I think the Free Karen Reed band is close at hand. We just need a drummer.
I can
And
sing, just not well.
okay. I hear you, brother. You're like the Edge from U2. You can do some parts of songs, but you don't want to be sitting there trying to do Bono. So there was something. Oh, speaking of bands and the creative process and how they argue and fight, I was listening to Stuart Copeland on this show on YouTube called Drumeo, where basically he comes on and he drums and people will try to do his drum parts and all that stuff. And
I
he
think I
complained about.
know.
Do you
I
know
think
that
I
show?
know that show. Yeah. Well, I know there's one. I don't know if it's the same show, but there's one where a guy will have a drummer, like a really famous drummer, like I don't know, the dude from Tool, come
Mm-hmm.
in and then be like, hey, I'm gonna have you play along to this Michael Jackson song, or something.
Yes.
A song. They'll find a song that they've never heard before, and then we're like, we want you to put your drum tracks to it, but a
That's
song that,
exactly right.
we right. Is that them?
That's
Um,
exactly the show.
that's
Uh,
super fun. Yeah, I love
S-
that.
Stewart just kind of came on and because there was another show where there's a drummer from another famous drummer who's trying to do Stewart's play one of Stewart's songs. But when he was on, he was just he'd play a little bit and he would talk about the band and those drum licks and stuff. And he could not stop talking about how much Sting annoyed him. Like he took at least half a dozen shots at Sting during that episode. So it dies hard. But I know
I don't blame him.
I
I see Sting being that guy that just gets on your nerves. Like his music gets on my nerves. Not so much these days. I used to be that guy that'd be like, "Oh God, turn that off. I hate that crap." But now I'm just like too old to care. Now I'm just like, no.
a lot of
Nobody likes
musicians
it.
they don't have enough appreciation maybe for what another band member brings. and they'll lose that appreciation. U2 has never lost it. I mean, they've been together since middle school. There's no other major band that's been together that long with the 4 original members. But I don't think Sting appreciates that Stewart is one of the most amazing drummers of all time in rock and roll, of all time. And also, and that I don't think Stewart maybe appreciated Sting enough, and they just didn't create space where they should have or needed to.
You're gonna get those egos, man. Like, it just comes with it. Like, if you're a musician and you're gonna perform in front of people, there's an extrovert quality to that personality that it requires, right? And an ego is gonna come with that most of the time. And so you have more people in the band. The more people you have in the band, the more egos you have, and the less likely you're gonna get anything really done. People are going to settle. People are going to, somebody's going to have to compromise, but everybody's just got this grand creative idea, and it must be, it must be, coming to fruition. It must be manifested into reality. And you're denying the world of your creativity, God forbid. And, you get 3, 4, 5 guys who all feel this way. It's gonna be a pain,
and it's
gonna
over,
be a pain. Yeah. There's gonna be resentment. Yeah.
Who could imagine John Bon Jovi and Richie Sambora not playing together? But it's happened, so it has occurred. So anyway, I know these people didn't come here to listen to all our musings about music, but when we do another cab episode of music, which we did recently, Will, we had Mike, we had Mizzy. We had Suzanne. I'm trying to remember who else. We had on 4 or 5 people, and we all talked about we want to take a night off of what is about to get us really pissed off when we talk about KP and we talk about what's just the filings of Mark Betterow and how they tried to, screw this woman over and this man, Turtle Boy. So we're about to get really pissed off here in a second. So we tried to do an episode where we just talk, we're just talking about our favorite bands, our Mount Rushmores of rock, and it was really interesting to hear. So next time we do one, we had JFK came on as well at the end, and we were gonna end the show. Yeah. We were 15 minutes from ending the show. We went like another 45. But next time we have that show, you are going to be invited, sir. In fact, right. I think we invited you, but it might have been when you went to that festival.
Yeah, so. You did invite me, and I had to decline because I had Riot Fest in Chicago.
Okay, there we go. All right, Will, dude, you have been all over this stuff regarding our boy, Turtle Boy, the courageous one. Hello, Shirley, welcome. Hello, Ann. Thank you for watching that one. This latest filing by you know what? I don't even remember the first letter that Mark sent them. I just only remember the second. Can you juxtapose the two, or are you like me where you don't remember the crux of the first one?
The first one was Jesus. Yeah, I mean, I only read it the one time when I was live, but I know that it was a whole bunch of 3-2-1 combos from Betterow, and he's basically saying the gist of the first one was basically calling for Ken Mello to recuse himself from this case, and basically Betterow and Bradle are accusing Mello of colluding with Tully and KP and LG to get Turtle Boy locked up, and this is I don't think Betterow, he doesn't come off to me as the kind of guy who's going to make those accusations and on paper file them if he can't prove them. So I'm quite confident that Betterow can prove those allegations in those letters, and I absolutely can't wait for that to happen. I don't want to see Turtle Boy go through this anymore. But at the same time, and I think Turtle Boy feels this way is he wants his day in court. He wants to be able to prove that these people are are dirty. And I'm here for it. I'm here for every second of it.
100%. 100%. Yeah, he I mean, it's costing him money to do this, but ultimately in a civil proceeding, I'm assuming he can win his money back. The fact that KP outed herself in such a ridiculous, in your face, and without any regard to what she was doing and the operation security of what they were trying to accomplish, and the hatred that it takes. What did you think about that when you saw the level of hatred that this woman has, and why do you suppose that is?
God only knows. What's funny is I don't care. That's her problem.
Mm.
She's a miserable, bad person. And is full of hatred. And it's a bummer because the thing is like she's old enough to be accountable for her actions. She's old enough to know how her actions affect other people. She's old enough to be to have the guts to be self-aware. Whether she does have the courage to look at herself in the mirror properly and see how how her behavior and her perspectives are affecting other people. And most of these people, when they do things like this, they think that they actually think, if you put them on a lie detector test and ask them if they think that they're actually helping people, they'll say yes and they'll pass. They convince themselves, they justify their actions in their mind by convincing themselves that they're doing good things for other people. And they're really, is she doing good things for the McAlberts? She's intending to, sure, but the problem is that the McAlberts have been lying the entire time. I don't know who killed John O'Keefe. I have no idea who actually killed the Boston police officer John O'Keefe. I know that he was inside that house, and I know that Karen's vehicle did not strike him. Those are two things that I know. So whatever happened to him had to have happened by default inside 34 Fairview on the early morning hours of January 29, 2022. There's just no denying this. So all I know is that these people in that house are lying. I don't know who they're protecting exactly. I mean, I could see that they're protecting Colin, but it could be that they're just protecting Colin because he's the baby of the family, so, I mean, I don't know. So she's helping these people, but she's not really helping them because the whole world can see that they're lying. The whole world can see that they're guilty of something, at least lying, and covering something up. And so, you have someone like this being your spokesperson. It's not a good look. So no,
Right.
she's not.
Yeah.
She's not helping the McAlberts.
Yeah. No, totally. I had an epiphanal moment the other night based on what one of our friends, I believe it was Joe Flipperhead, posted something. I know he's amazing.
I love
So
Joe Flipperhead.
you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, Joe Flipperhead.
He's on Flip. Well, first
I hear Tom CPU's voice saying Joe Flipperhead in my head whenever I hear it. It's tattooed on my brain. Hearing Tom CPU go, you want to give a shout out to Joe Flipperhead? Joe Flipperhead? You heard of Joe Flipperhead? Like, that's all I hear whenever I hear that dude's name, and I love it. It's great.
And are you from Massachusetts?
No.
Okay, so you're like me. Actually, I went to college there, so I'm heading back for our college reunion like 2 weeks from now. But 2 weeks from today, actually, I'll be there. So yeah, actually, I know what you're saying, but you feel connected to it nonetheless.
There's Tom.
Is he here?
Yeah, Tom's my boy.
Hey, Tom, how's it going, man? I'm glad we are connected on Twitter now, by virtue of that chat. So I do see your work on video, and certainly would want to connect with you. We adopted Will, as well you should.
Yeah, I keep hearing that. That's one of the things that I'm just like totally just I melt over is hearing the locals there, like just individually will tell me, that I'm a Bostonian, and I'm officially a Bostonian to them. So it's like, wow, that's an honor, considering how tight knit Bostonians and the pride that they take in being Bostonian. So it's an honor.
And they actually should be treating Karen Read with the same embrace, but they're not. They're treating her like she's from the planet Pluto or something.
I mean, and they're really reaching, man. Like I just saw a post where they showed her making a face in a picture.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and they're like, oh my God, no class. Like, I mean, you can't make a silly face in a picture. Like if I go through your photos on your phone and I don't see a selfie of you making a silly face somewhere in there, I'm going to assume that you are a miserable fuck. Sorry for my language.
It's true.
I'm just going to assume it right away. I'm going to be like, you're miserable and life must suck for you. And I'm going to think that they're more likely to have killed someone than the person who's making a silly face in a picture. You know what I mean?
I had the exact same. I commented on the same photo. It's just so absurd, because if that is some indicative of one's class, then I must be classless, because I've taken mostly ridiculous photos in my entire life, because regular photos don't look so good. And look who's there. Suzanne Cleveland. Let me do my LeBron. Cleveland, this is for you. So anyway, how's it going? Welcome, Suzanne.
What's up, Suzanne?
All right, so this is I had an epiphany, that which I told Suzanne last night. So I'm going to share it with you and get your comments on it. So I'm watching Joe Flipperhead's videos, and basically he posts KP in her interview, and then he posts Allie McCabe. And in that, and so I'm just going to go through this and then get your reaction to it. So in that, you have KP saying to the interviewer, I think it was the one where she and Lindsay.
No, I actually posted that.
Oh, did you post it?
Yeah, I actually, I downloaded the two videos and posted them next to each other on Twitter or on X, whatever.
Julie's calling me out because
Joe Flipperhead might have done it as well.
Okay.
I'm just saying, I know that I distinctly remember actually going, okay, I'm posting this and these two videos side by side next to each other.
Well, thank you, because that may have been the one. But let me share the epiphanal moment that happened after seeing that. So you have KP saying, as you know, because you posted it, oh, Colin wasn't even in the house when John was there.
Yeah.
And then you had Alan McCabe saying, oh, see, Colin wasn't in the house when John was there.
Right. Almost verbatim on the stand.
Yes. On the stand.
In a murder trial. Yeah.
So I started going through my head and saying, what we need to find here is a motive for murder. And the reason is this. If you have Brian Albert, he fancies himself a fighter or some sort of an amateur boxer. I don't know if he's competed or if he just spars with guys or what. So he obviously, there's a call out in the bar by Brian Higgins, and O'Keefe is thinking to himself, if I don't, and I'm gonna use some colorful language, so I want you to forgive me here, but this would be the language they would use.
Oh, I'm only watching my mouth because it's your show. Like I don't censor myself on my show, so
no. I'm talking to the chat.
I respect other people's channels when I'm on them, and so I try to watch my language.
And bless you, as do I. But I'm saying because we have women in the chat, and I don't like to, curse and mix company and these kinds of things. So O'Keefe is at the bar, and he's thinking, I live in Copland. You have all these different cops that live in Canton. They probably do all kinds of laundry room talk when they're over at Canton PD. And Higgins works there. And if this little bitch calls me out and I don't show up, he's going to tell them that I'm a pussy, that I'm a bitch. If he says, hey, you coming, and I don't at least show my face at Brian Albert's house, he's going to dime me out to all these other Canton PD guys that he called me out, and I didn't take him up on it. So that's why O'Keefe asked Karen to take him over there, and he was only supposed to be there for a few minutes. Albert overwhelmingly likely brings him down into the basement because that's where his, hey, you guys want to have a go? Let's go. Let's go down the basement. Let's see if
that's the scenario that makes the most sense to me as well. I mean, if I'm speculating, I think that that's what, based on the evidence, what we know. Yeah.
But it gets better. It gets better because even in them having a fight that is sanctioned by the ringmaster there, Brian Albert, we don't have a motive for murder. So when John is injured, we have to have a reason that they're not going to call 911. There has to be a reason that any normal person, even a drunk cop, these guys are first responders, this guy goes down and is looking like he's convulsing, someone's going to call 911. So what I surmise happened is those injuries that are on the backs of his hands, he's probably engaged with Brian Higgins, and perhaps because of this undying need to clear Colin of even being in the home, why would you be so dead set on that unless Colin takes some sort of a weighted object and smacks him in the back of the head with it, causing that 2.5-inch scar? He's defending himself from the front. He gets hit from the back. Now, the problem we have is if somebody calls 911, John O'Keefe is going to the hospital. He's going to the ER, and he's probably going to at least stay one night there, just based on the injury to the back of his head. And if he was concussed, which obviously he would have been, he is now the DA is going to have to prosecute whomever committed felony assault. So if Colin Albert hits him in the back of the head while he's engaged in a fight, and I'm just throwing this out there, I don't know what happened, but I have to establish a motive of why Brian Albert and Brian Higgins would let him die. And It's not just because he's a dick and because Brian Albert is a violent maniac, as Sean McDonough has put out on many occasions. So the DA would be
I think that's the question that everybody is stuck on. You know, I think that's the question everybody's stuck on is why didn't anyone help him?
That's why. Because hold on, I want to extend this further, Will, because now you have a situation where the Norfolk County DA is going to have to indict this guy for felony assault, which means police officer career for Colin Albert is over. And, having filled out job applications myself in and out of the government, my wife as well, she works and she's a cook. Every single one of them, have you been convicted of a felony? And every one of them is using these national background check services. I can't think of what they're called. Somebody put it in the chat if you remember, but they're using these national background check services. What's up, Dennis? So if that is your motive for murder right there, because his career aspirations are over because he's going to have to identify himself as a convicted felon without question, not to mention whatever disciplinary action that Brian Higgins would have faced. Obviously, Brian Albert was retirement eligible. I think that's their motive to let him die, because if he wakes up, God forbid if O'Keefe wakes up, he is going to ID Colin Albert as who hit him in the back of the head.
Right.
That's all I got.
I mean, it's just, that makes sense, but, to me, based on the facts of the case, Brian Higgins had the most motive. Now, I'm not saying he did it. I'm not even saying I think he did it. I'm saying that if I'm speculating based on the facts that are made available to me, I'm going with Brian Higgins had the most motive. But that also makes sense. That also makes a lot of sense. I mean, there's all kinds of possible motives. There's rumors that Colin Albert is a drug dealer. There's rumors that there was something with something with Brian Albert and his partner, who was John O'Keefe's partner or something to that effect. I'm not even sure exactly what that is, but there's rumors about this. And the problem is like those things are mostly rumor.
Right.
So I don't speculate on rumor. So right now, based on the facts that are made available to me, based on the video footage of Brian Higgins peacocking, as Microdots put it in his video, and then looking as though he could have been calling John O'Keefe out.
No question. You've
Right.
been in a bar fight. You know what that. And the
Well,
text.
someone on Twitter corrected me. And I you know, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. You know what I mean?
Too.
It is what it is. So, and somebody on Twitter said, you know, in all fairness, Will, how do you know? You can't hear any audio. You don't really know what's being said. You don't really know. You know, he could just be drunk and talking about something serious, but it doesn't mean he's actually calling him outside to fight. And that's true.
I'm not buying it, man.
I've been to me, if it walks like a rubber ducky and it quacks like a rubber ducky, it's a rubber ducky. You know what I mean? So sure.
I've been in enough situations where I have seen that point. I've seen that head movement, that person standing in between. That was a call out for a fight. And then the follow up with the text, because clearly these guys were not friends, and
he did
clearly
follow up with a text, yeah.
And he followed up with a text. You coming? Question mark? So now John has to. And Karen does not. Karen does not know. Yeah, Karen does not know why she's being asked to drive him there. As she said in her interview, she said, "I wasn't invited there. I don't know if you were. I wasn't. I don't know why you want to go there. I want to go home." And he had to go over there. And the reason he had to go over there is because if Higgins called him out for a fight and he doesn't turn up, then there's a problem.
And he is trying to bang his woman.
And he's trying to bang his woman. Yeah.
And he
wants to get some drinking.
Of that. You know, like it's just in our DNA, man. Our testosterone dictates that we, you know, like
don't
you
back
call
down,
me
man.
out. You call me out. You know, if I got to take an ass whooping, I'll take an ass whooping. But
that's right.
If you're calling me out, we're gonna throw hands, man. It is what it is. You know.
And by the way, Sam Nagel, you would never call out Turtle Boy if you two were alone. Never. Just want to say that. Sorry. Go ahead.
Right. Yeah, that was the most pathetic display of effery that I've ever seen. Like
that's when you know guy's a real puss, is when he does something like that. That's when you're 100% sure.
Right. And I guarantee you that Ryan Nagel gave him the business in private for that. I guarantee it. Ryan Nagel comes off to me as somebody who doesn't go around picking fights, but will be the first one to throw down if his friends are in trouble. It totally seems that way. I've known guys like him my whole life. I respect guys like him most of the time. The problem is that the people that he's friends with are dirty, bad people, and they're covering up a murder. So that's the issue. But the thing is Ryan Nagel, I could tell the way that he chose to handle it was, all right, I'm going to get my brother out of there. I think that when he got in Turtle Boy's face, it was not to confront Turtle Boy. It was to get his brother away. It was to bail his brother out of a situation that his brother wasn't thinking through. So that was his way of doing that, but not looking like he was, you know, it was actually I could see my brother doing this. You know what I mean? Put it that way. Like where I'm running my mouth and getting loud and being Mr. Tough Guy. And instead of embarrassing me, my brother's not going to embarrass me. He's going to go and he's going to say, I'm taking over, blah, 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 blah. And then casually get him. Hey, come on, let's go. Let's leave this idiot alone. Let's go. You know, that's the impression that I got. But yeah, Sam Nagel, I don't think is tough. I think he feels tough because he has a tough brother.
Because he had a whole group of people around him. Yeah. If he would have been alone with Turtle Boy, who has said nothing to that guy. Right. So Jessica is here, and then we'll go back to my hypothesis. I want to get Jessica's question in. This is Miss Jessica NB. She is a chat moderator here and also with Miss Shorty. So let's get her up on stage here. Jessica, how you doing, my friend?
Hi, Jessica.
I'm all right. Hi, the glare. How are you?
You could just call me Will. It's fine.
Well, actually, you're kind of on my poop list because I live in Chicago and could have gotten you really sick tickets to Riot Fest and had no clue that you were here until I saw your giddy face with Turtle Boy in the car while he was talking to Howard Carr. So you're on my poop list, but there's always next year.
I mean, if you follow me on Instagram, you would have known that I was live on Instagram a lot.
Listen, the amount of times I get on Instagram is not very many. I need to though, but from now on, I'll follow you on Instagram and yeah. Anyway, but it's nice to meet you. So sorry about me not being on the video. As I told DJ, this weekend's been kind of a crazy one for me. Unfortunately, I flushed one of my AirPods down the toilet. You know, just one thing after another.
That sucks.
Not figuratively, literally, Will. All right.
Yeah,
I get it. Like that's actually one of my fears. I had when the camera phone first came out, and excuse me, Metro PCS put them out. I had one, and I paid a ridiculous amount of money for it, and I had it on a belt clip, and I was at this club at Churchill's at a show in Miami, this place called Churchill's, and it's known, part of it's known for how dingy the bathroom is. Like it's just I mean, you need a tetanus shot going in there. I mean, it might be because it might be the reason why my immune system is amazing right now. It might just be is hanging out in that bathroom so much. But yeah, I went to go pee and then the thing fell off the belt clip right into the toilet. So now I've ever since then, and that was like 20 years ago. Ever since then, I keep I keep my phone way over here when I'm peeing. Like I'm too scared.
You need a phone holder, like somebody else.
So I'll never use AirPods for that reason because they're just two little things. I'm like, yeah, I'll lose one of them, guaranteed.
Yeah.
I'm never
the amount of lost AirPods I've had, and I actually tried to find my AirPod after I flushed it, thinking that I could just mess with the plumbing or whatever. Yeah, no, it was long gone. It was probably underneath my neighbor's house by that point.
I've lost at least 2 sets, but
yeah.
Anyway, my friend, what is your question for Will the Glare? Who we still want to the genesis of that name was what? The Glarer.
Oh,
because someone in the chat asked this question.
Oh man, I've told this story before, but I was in a real bad place at one point. Like I had a really bad mental health crisis, put it that way. And I was just in bad shape, no sense of how to manage it whatsoever. And then I got suicidal. And I mean rock bottom. Like I was done. I was ready to go. I was at peace with it and everything. But I told a loved one, I felt guilty not saying goodbye to certain people. And then of course my loved ones intervened. And then it was like I was in a position where it was like, all right, well, I'm either gonna there's nowhere lower to get than this. So I'm either just gonna die or I'm gonna go through with this, or I'm going to for the sake of my loved ones who actually made me feel as though I was worth saving, I was going to put in some work. And while I was in this place mandatory for like 10 days, I came up, I started just focusing like on, okay, what do I need to do to manage this, to get better? What are and so that's my it's an acronym, and I started thinking about, and I wrote these things down, and ever since, honestly, ever since I started, this is for me, I'm not trying to tell anybody what to do. You know, that's just something that worked for me. You asked me what the origin of the name is, and this is it. I'm not trying to be preachy or tell anybody what to do, nothing, just but it ever since I adopted this and started really applying those things into my everyday decision making, and how I look at myself, I have attracted nothing but good things in my life. So it's pretty amazing. Like I went from feeling completely and totally worthless, just like a bag of skin, to and like totally empty, to now feeling like I you know seeing what kind of value I can you know contribute.
And you are.
So it's nice. It's yeah, I feel completely different than I did 10 years ago.
DJ, can I interject on that? Like,
Yes, please.
well, first of all, I just want to say I'm very sarcastic, but thank you so much for sharing that, seriously, because you don't know how many people that you're helping, and you're, by the way, your channel is wild. I laugh my butt off every time
That's what it's
that
for,
I
man.
watch it.
Glad
The
you enjoy it.
first time I watched it, I was like, who the F is this guy? And then like I was like, oh my, I started watching the chat and I was like, oh, these are my people. Okay. Just because I love like the sarcasm and everything else. So you don't know anything about me. I'm a Army veteran. I was in the bomb squad unit. So I have a different type of humor just
Wow.
because I was one of two women.
Oh man, I bet
in
your
my
humor
unit.
is dark, man. I love it.
Yes. Oh yeah.
I love
We'll
it.
have to chat. Yeah.
And
I don't
thank you
wanna...
both. Thank you both for your service, by the way. I have
Yeah.
great respect for anybody who served in the military. So thank you both.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
It was an honor.
I'm glad the Air Force took me in and gave me a home. So, but thank you.
Yeah, I'm very glad too, because I wouldn't want you in the Army. You're much more Air Force guy. Sorry, I have to give you crap.
Yeah, I know a lot of military people, so it's like, I have Air Force jokes, but I never served, so I don't get to say them. So when I hear Air Force jokes from somebody in the Army, I'm like, yeah, get them.
Well, DJ wasn't normal Air Force either. He was, so he doesn't get as much crap.
Yeah. I just want to follow up on Will. I just want to say, Will, and thank you, Calypso39, Army brats, and you guys are just so important, because without you, we can't serve. We don't have that family to kind of hold us up. So thank you. Will, I want to say thank you that you didn't go through with it, and that you're here, because you're inspiring people like myself, like Jessica, like all these people in the chat. And when we see you, we want to meet you and talk to you. And that's why I invited you here today. You're a blessing.
Thank you.
You're a blessing. Yeah. So thank you so much.
I don't know about all that, but thank you. I see being invited here as a blessing, most definitely. Like you got a great community here. I'm looking at the chat. Everybody seems really cool. You could tell a lot about a creator from their chat. You can tell a lot.
I mean, so we try to make a lot of positivity. We love people, and we like to welcome people here and just make them feel good amidst a topic that leaves us extremely aggrieved, extremely angry. We have to find some solace and comfort and catharsis in interacting with one another, and that's kind of like what we do on these shows. We want to bring light to this. We want to see Karen freed and out from under this mess that she's been put under feloniously. Somebody, is Mazza here?
Yeah, Mazza just showed up.
Mazza.
Yeah.
There's another brother.
Maniac.
Maniac
right here.
I love him. I got to have him on once too. I'm trying to put together a round table and get him on again. So hello, Mazza.
Mazza's just fantastic. He's just fantastic. Yeah, that's all I was going to say.
He has such an incredible voice. He should be on television doing this. He should literally be on television.
He's a natural.
Have a show. Yeah,
I'm pulling a Mazza tonight, not try my face.
Mazza can like talk, stay on task, and not even breathe while reading the chat. Reading the chat, and then comment
Yes.
typing while he's talking and respond to comments in the chat while I'm like, how do you even I can't even pay attention to one thing for more than 10 seconds.
Attention, we have
Yep.
ADHD, Mazza, and you're
Yes.
able to stay on
Yes.
point while you're juggling like 3 topics at once. So, yeah,
I'm
Mazza,
so happy
we're
we're
gonna
all together.
totally. So, yeah, we're gonna get you. We got to get going on that roundtable, and we're gonna try. We have not spoken with Brian yet, so we're gonna try to get Brian, analyze Suzanne, Mazza, and maybe Nurse Kim to co-host with me to do a quadfecta, where one person takes Enrique, one person has Sandra, one person has Turtle Boy, and one person has Karen. But anyway,
sorry.
yes, ma'am.
Could I get
yes, ma'am.
I do sorry, I do need to get on one of those. Also Claire, well, sorry, I'm just gonna call you Claire. I know the Farwells. That's I forgot to mention that. I know the Farwells from the Birchmore Farwells. Because being with the EOD with Bomb Squad unit, that's how I met Billy. But Matthew was actually his unit was supported my unit while we were stateside, and then his unit ended up supporting us when we were deployed. But I think he had already gotten out or kicked out, or I've doing a deep dive on them. So there's a lot to those guys. But I loved watching you cover that and the passion that you have and everything else. You guys having Mizzy and Suzanne on. It's just people have no idea how much, and I don't personally know how hard that they've worked, but I just want to commend both of you on having them on, because they need the exposure, they need the not the credit, but just the acknowledgement of all the hard work that they've done, because had they not, who Sandra could have gone quietly, and nobody would have really potentially looked at this. So
yeah, Mizzy is an unsung hero, man.
Yep.
She really, I mean, she was vital in keeping Sandra's name out there and spreading information. And one thing I don't have any patience or empathy for is assaults that are of a sexual nature, in any way, shape, or form. I have no empathy or patience for it. I'm not going to try to understand it. I'm not going to try to. No, like if you are missing the very simple, if you're perverting something that is such a gift to the human body, you're making it something ugly that is designed to be something beautiful. I have no quarter for you, none.
Yep, exactly.
Yep. And we have Suzanne here as well. And by the way, I was going to say, Suzanne Cleveland, this is for you. I'm doing my LeBron James invitation. But you should maybe, as former U.S. Army, Jess, you maybe should call out to public affairs, or what we would call PA.
I'm already on it.
Out in Arizona. Yeah. Okay.
I'm on it. Yeah.
Pimp you on that. Okay.
Yeah.
Let them know that William Farwell is in their midst.
Yeah. Well, and also, we will have to chat sometime. Just because I have no patience for the bullshit of the digital forensics, a lack thereof, investigation and all this other stuff. Well, like I said, we'll have to talk offline as to why. Eventually, I'll start talking about it. But I'm heavily involved, heavily, a pro OSINT, pro digital forensics, educating people on YouTube and stuff like that, especially the doxers and things like that, and how easily it can be avoided. Granted, these doxers, they just keep going and multiplying like cockroaches, but yeah. Anyway, but I love
that's just something that's going to happen, man. It's really terrible. Like, I don't understand. Like, I don't, and I see that stuff happen on Twitter, and I'll tell people, man, I don't approve or condone doxing.
Yep.
If anybody's doing it, I don't care what their opinion is on this case. If anybody's doing that's crappy. Don't do that. There's you can make your opinion. You can express your opinion without violating someone's privacy and messing with their real life. That's not okay.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, and luckily they said there's going to be a standout at Stoughton City Hall. I don't know if that was tomorrow. So if someone wants to throw that up there, we also have the pleasure. We had Suzanne here is also working towards justice for Sandra. And let's face it, the Sandra Birchmore case, we're in such a great situation now because they have made an arrest. They've made an arrest, and that arrest will most certainly lead to other arrests, or as a minimum, somebody else is going to be charged with something because the only bargaining chip that Matthew has is to dime out
federal is very telling. The fact that
Say
it was
again?
the fact that it was a
Yes.
federal charge is very telling. It rejuvenates my hope that Levy's out there, he's watching, he's working, he's collecting and building. That is how I'm taking that.
But it takes time. I was involved as a witness and a victim in a federal case, and it took 5 years. 5 years from target letter to trial to actually the sentencing just got pushed again. So people need to remember that.
Obviously the Massachusetts State Police were not interested in doing anything about it.
Yep.
So, you know, and Michael Morrissey's district attorney's office in Norfolk County wasn't interested in doing anything about it. So the Fed stepped in. And I don't think that was I think that a big reason why that happened was Josh Levy. That was Josh Levy's way of letting the public know that they're building a case, that they have not dropped this Michael Morrissey thing, that things are going to come together. I think that without discussing the case, I think that since the feds are so tight-lipped, I think that Josh Levy's method there was to make this arrest and be very public about it and hold this very public press conference about it, and then say, you know, that to me, that was his way of letting us know we're working, we're getting there. Things are going to happen. Don't worry. We have not gone cold here.
Yep.
Yeah. And so the situation with Sandra, I think, is in their hands now. And I think that she's in a good place. Karen, we assume, based on, you know, what Sean has told us and others, but we just don't know 100% certainty until something happens. And I assume that by January, if there isn't some sort of an appellate action that pushes back that second trial, unless there's some sort of a arrest by January, I think that would be kind of some sort of a deadline. What do you think?
People feel, this is something that I've been thinking about recently because it keeps coming up, is whether or not the feds can, in good conscience, allow Karen Read to go through another trial. I am of the opinion, this is the only way that I know how to make sense of it. I'm not saying this is the case. I'm not even saying I believe that to be the case, but it seems to me that what's going on in the trial, like what happened in the last trial, all of that stuff is on record. Mm-hmm. So that could be used as evidence. So I believe that Karen Read's defense team is very much in communication with Josh Levy. Considering, I mean, what we know this already, you know, that's how they got the TUI report. So we know that that they've been at least in direct contact to some degree with Josh Levy. So I feel like they're probably like, well, listen, we're going to get these guys, but you're going to have to go through the pain of another trial, you know, and, you know, nobody's going to let you go to prison. But if we can get a judge and we can get a DA and we can get everybody who is benefiting in some corrupt way and acting out of the interest of justice in this case, that's what we want to do, and we want to get them. Why wouldn't they? If we're suspecting that Beverly Cannoni is corrupt, right? Who's to say that Josh Levy isn't suspecting it? And how can he build a case against Beverly Cannoni unless he allows her to do what she does and abuse her power? Does that make sense? So
I was gonna that actually was going to be my next question. What are your thoughts on Judge Bev?
Oh, I mean, I don't know if she's corrupt in the traditional sense, like in the sense where she's taking payments or things
Right.
like that. I have no evidence of that. I have no idea. But when you're a judge who is sworn to make decisions that are in the interest of justice, and you consistently fail to do that with every decision that you seem to make, then that to me is considered corrupt. If you have a file that's not doing what it's supposed to do on your computer, that is a corrupt file, correct?
Mhm.
So if you're a judge and you're not doing what you are supposed to be doing, then technically you are corrupt. So yes, I do believe that Judge Beverly Cannoni is absolutely corrupt. Yes.
I thought that from. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jess.
I was gonna say,
Smith.
like I said, you DJ, you know a lot about. So obviously, I live in Chicago, and I've seen literally being going off what Suzanne said is witnessing the corruption and not being able to do anything about it. And it is just like I want to say the most debilitating thing ever. And because the cops are corrupt, because the people involved are corrupt, because if you say something, are you going to be taken out? I mean, it's just it is scary. It is scary. And I've been to war, and I've been more scared probably the last few years than I have my entire life. So yeah, it's just it's awful, and like I would not wish that on anyone at all.
I'm afraid of being recognized locally where I live. Now, I'm grateful that I'm not popular enough to where that's likely going to happen, but because of my very open opinions on this case, I get worried, like you'll never see me walking around Canton by myself. That'll never happen. You know what I mean?
With your sleeves.
That'll never happen. Right, with sleeves. That'll never happen. But so I actually get worried about it because, but the thing is I cannot in good conscience not speak what my opinions are. I see people and I feel sorry for them. I feel sorry for news reporters who work for a conglomerate that won't let them express how they feel about these things when it's obvious. I feel bad for YouTubers who have who count on their ad revenue, who are like, oh, I don't want to rock the boat here. I mean, I can't relate to that. I have to say how I feel about this. I have to speak up. People will be like, oh, you're doing such good things. You're doing such good things. I don't see it that way. I see it like I just can't shut up about something that I see is blatantly unjust. Like that's it. So I don't necessarily want a pat on the back for just being a loudmouth about something that I'm pissed off about. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I mean, the fact that you're dedicated and there's Scott saying for $45 an hour, I'll walk with you. I love it. I love it, Scott. Yeah, I mean, I'm coming there in like 2 weeks, and I thought of it as well. I thought of, what if I do get pulled over? What if somebody's seen my show and they saw that what I've said about MSP and so forth? But yeah, Suzanne's gonna, she's got my back. So anyway, I was gonna say for everybody in the chat, if you would take a moment and hit the like button, and if you would also hit the subscribe button, that would be awesome if you're so inclined. If you like the sort of content that you're hearing. And if you like my absurd intros, or if you can ignore them and overlook them. Anyway, and if you have a question, put it in all caps for Will or Jessica. And if you want to throw a super chat our way, that's awesome. And if you don't, we love you just as much. So it's all good. Thank you, everybody, for participating tonight.
It's wild in this chat.
Is why I know these people are awesome. We do have really a great group. The Side Bar and Grill. Thank you, everybody, for turning up. So yeah, if you got something, please put it in caps so we recognize it. Thank you, B Harmony Granny Nanny, for smashing the like. That is so dope of you, and dope in a positive way. But Will, let's get back to motive.
Okay.
We have to have. I mean, if you put us in any other situation, we're in a bar somewhere, we're in a restaurant, We're out at a concert. There's a fight outside the Pat Stadium in the parking lot. Nobody is going to let John O'Keefe die. So we have to have some motive that we have to say he has to die. And then we also have, believe it or not, I know this is going to shock you, Will. There was someone in the house that Googled Haas Long to die in cold at 2:27. I know you're like, no, that didn't happen. It's absurd. Nobody's dumb enough to do that. But
I was shocked when I first heard about that. I was like, wait a minute. No, but she didn't really do that, did she? What? Yeah. But at the same time, I wasn't that surprised because, I mean, you again, look at Brian Walsh, look at his Google searches, look at Letitia Stout's Google searches. Look at, I mean, this is something that happens a lot. This is why Celebrite is celebrated as much as they are in these very high profile trials in the last 5-10 years. So at least almost every single one that I've ever followed, Celebrite comes into play to some degree. And then it's really interesting that they're going to use Celebrite to convince the jury that it's reliable and it's evidence against Brian Walsh, but the very same district attorney's office that's going to try to do that, the very same prosecution team, well, not the same team, but they're going to try to convince this jury that it is. So if I'm Brian Walsh's defense, I'm going to go, well, you guys spent the entire Karen Read trial trying to convince that jury that Celebrite wasn't reliable. You know, this is just a big cluster F, man. Like it just is.
Well,
I've never seen anything like this.
Nor have I. I mean, when you look at the totality of this case, I think I've heard Mazza and others say it when you start talking about Karen Read with friends of yours who are like, we could call them civilians that are outside of this case. You're like, I mean, if you want me to tell you about it, I mean, do you have like an hour and a half? Because I think we could, but hey, what's up, Kate? That's right. Proud Air Force Brad. What's up, home girl?
Right,
I want to conduct a thought experiment with you guys here. So, the Glare just mentioned Celebrite. We could talk about hash values and how that cell phone extraction from Jennifer McCabe and John O'Keefe as the wonderful, the amazing
you need
Olivia Lambo.
Yeah, you need her for that because I'm
no. That's not where we're going. That is, I'm setting the table right now because
it makes sense when it's explained to me, but I couldn't begin to explain it again. You know,
no, we're not going there. I'm setting the table for what I am going to ask you. So for Olivia Lambo, the hash values just means they could tell if the hash values are missing, then they don't have a complete extraction of their cell phone because there are entries in there that are missing hash values. And that's where, her deleted, that like a full forensic extraction, she said there's going to be a unique identifier with each and every text, phone call, every operation, the Google search, there'll be a hash value. When you're missing that, then that means someone has scrubbed something from that phone. And that's what they gave to the defense. Now, that's not what I want to ask you guys about with the thought experiment. I'm going to ask you guys to dissect words and apply them to my hypothesis. And then maybe there's more of a thumbs up. Maybe there's a thumbs down. Maybe there's no, this is complete BS, DJ. All right. There's an individual, like I said, shocking as it is, a wonderful soccer mom, loving mom, Googles Haas Long, or in this case, how long to die in cold. So now we have to try to, from those words, try to figure out why would somebody Google that? What does that mean? So let me go to Will, and then let me go to Jess with that. Go ahead, Will.
Because they're panicked and they're stupid. And people do stupid things when they panic.
But what does it mean? What are those words? Why those words? Dissect those words.
It means to me that she was aware that he was put out in the lawn and it was cold. And she thought that if he wasn't dead, he was near death. And was expecting for him to die out in the cold.
For what reason?
I don't know. Again, I have no idea. To protect someone, obviously, but who, I have no idea.
Well, they're not going to protect Brian Higgins. He's not part of the family. I mean, I don't think they give a shit about Brian Higgins. So they kept going to these extraordinary lengths to try to say that Colin was not in the house. That became a point of contention. He is not blood to them. He is another dude who's who's a friend of Brian Albert's who works in the town. He is not precious. They would never say the word love and apply it to Brian Higgins, but they might to Colin Albert. Jess, what is your take? What do those words mean?
Well, my excitement overnight is when I deep dive into digital forensics and OSINT and geofencing and surveillance and data privacy and such. I firmly believe that the tooth, Googled that for sure. Just another typical dumb alleged criminal making a slip up mistake, thinking that they'd be able to cover their tracks. No matter what you type in your phone, anything that you type in your phone is registered regardless. I think that they were just trying to figure out when that they could put him out on the lawn time wise to see how long it takes for the body to cool down so that their story could develop around that, to be honest.
They're just the thing is if I have to have a reason why I want to know how long it would take somebody to die in the cold. It's not a random search. So we have all this chaos going on in the house. Will is alluding to that. People are panicking, perhaps except Brian Albert, because maybe he's a sociopath. Who knows? But in that search, I'm going to conduct that search and use those words for a specific reason. I'm trying to figure out what that reason is. Why do you want to know how long it's going to take him to die in the cold? The only reason I can come up with is that if for some reason he survives, he is going to ID someone. Someone is fidgeting with paper in the background. Please go to mute. Okay,
not me.
Jessica,
right.
We'll put you in the Chicago Blackhawks penalty box. Anyway, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. So if that's the case, if he wakes up, he's going to ID somebody that struck him in the back of the head, someone that made that blow that was going to kill him. Not the punches to his eyes, not the punches that he obviously blocked with his hands, not where he probably got hit in the nose. He is going to tell someone struck me in the back of the head with an object big enough and hard enough, metal, that left a gash in my head. And we only have 3 choices of people that could be. That could be Brian A, that could be Brian H, or that could be Colin. And they've gone to extraordinary lengths. Even if it was Brian Albert, they're still going to collect a pension. Brian Albert already is. It's not that he was. I mean, he never went back to work, according to McDonough after this. So the only one who's vulnerable, who it would ruin his life or what the remainder of his life, is Colin. I've never thought a lot about Colin Albert until you posted those videos. And then I said, oh, so he was there. And everybody keeps trying to deny that he was there. Why would they do that? Because he would have been he would have been ID'd by John if John survived.
I mean, that's sure. That's a sound theory, but
it's a theory, a hypothesis. Right. That's it.
Sure.
I'm not saying that's what happened. I'm saying I'm trying to put forth a hypothesis because I know there has to be a motive for murder. I do not believe that Brian Albert and Brian Higgins set out to murder John O'Keefe. I just don't believe it. There's no way. So they just wanted to beat his ass. That Brian Higgins wanted to beat his ass, and then something happened that shifted the paradigm in that damn house.
I think they liked John and wanted to more or less initiate him into their little circle of grab assing and tough guyness, you know, and whatever was going on. I don't know. But something more than just beating his ass is there, because they beat him to death. You know, they left him out on the lawn to freeze. So it to me, there's something more than just a hazing going on here. There's something. I mean, you know, you consider Brian Albert, you consider Chris Albert, you consider the salaries that some of these Massachusetts state police officers are making, these Canton police officers are making. You know, there's again, man, like it stinks, you know. So the answer to 99 out of 100 questions is money. And when you see those very high salaries, you see very little money going into methods of investigation, you know, basic preservation of evidence and handling of evidence. I mean, these things, you know, but you see these cops are making insane amounts of money.
Mm-hmm.
And to do what? You know what I mean? So
Clearly not investigate.
Right. So they're not being paid to be good cops, you know? So, and then you have the Alberts, Chris Albert on the select board. You've got them fighting tooth and nail to against a police audit. They're scared. So people's pockets are getting lined here. The question is, did that have something to do with John O'Keefe's death and cover up? And that makes sense to me, because again, why wouldn't anybody just help him? Why wouldn't they just say, hey, well, you know, we were screwing around and he fell, and you know what I mean?
I've been saying this for weeks, Will. That is exactly what I've been saying for weeks. And it's not until I saw your videos that I came up with a reason. I'm like, Brian, why didn't you just
what I get out of that? What I get out of those videos is that John O'Keefe was in the house. Yes. I'm not focused so much on Colin, right. And his name being mentioned by KP and by Caitlin Albert. Or was it Allie?
Allie, I believe it wasn't Allie McCabe, the one that came and picked him up. Maybe I'm wrong. Somebody correct me in the chat if I'm wrong. I don't know
why there's so many names. No, I'm confused.
But I'll tell you what the thing about the initiation.
Allie, okay.
There's one sort of outlier here, Will, and it's this. If you've ever been that guy that really wanted a girl, this beautiful girl, and somebody else had that girl, when people are out and they get drunk and they see that girl and they're being ignored and she's with another guy and he's this sort of tall, handsome, not fat guy that John O'Keefe was, that would have pissed off and really irritated Brian Higgins. I don't think, for that reason,
dude's got baby dick energy written all over him, dude.
Yes,
all over it.
And for that, and for that reason, I don't think they were trying to initiate him into a friendship or some sort of a triumvirate of Canton idiots that they saw themselves as. Yeah, that's why I don't think that. I think he wanted to beat his ass.
Right. I that's just one thing that I speculate on, but only because Chris Albert and Brian Albert seem to like him. So there's that. But and Chris Albert, I don't think Chris Albert liked him. He just
he posted those photos in his yard. Where he would F with them and say, "Oh, look, we have the beer cans and we're drinking in your yard." And I'm going to tell you, man,
I think that he liked him, but he razzed him for being the get off my lawn guy, you know? Well, and like, if he was just more laid back, he'd be cool. You know what I mean? That's what I feel like Chris Albert felt about John O'Keefe.
Okay. As an older dude, there is nothing in the world more annoying, and I don't know if you've ever had this happen as an adult, of where a high school kid comes up and talks shit to you. And it's clear from the testimony that Colin Albert would talk shit at John O'Keefe, and John O'Keefe probably did not like him. Thought he was a smart mouth kid. He talked to Chris Albert about it, who just co-opted it and blew it off. And it is really, really super annoying when a kid does that. And so I think there was beef between John and between Colin Albert. I don't think it's enough that Colin Albert would necessarily want to kill him. I think that when you have a drunk kid and there's a fight, and him, he tried to go to great lengths to say that he wasn't a fighter, and we found out how ridiculous that was. It didn't take Turtle Boy, 10 minutes to find videos of him fighting, and that he's a bully over at Canton High School. And so it looks like that something like that happened, because why else? If John had here's the thing, and this, I want to say this to you guys in the chat. If this was an accident, and Brian, let's say Brian Higgins punched him in the face and he fell, and the cradles, the metal cradles on a squat rack that hold the bar, that you cradle the bar. If you fell and hit your head on those metal cradles, you could get a gash like that. You could have a gash.
Oh, I would be surprised if you didn't.
No question that you could have a gash like that. So now let's say that that's what happened to John. They have no reason not to call 911 and save his life. We have to have a motive that they didn't want him to survive.
That's why I go into la la land of money that I have no idea. That's why I go there, because it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to me that they would just because obviously the motive was to kill him. They wanted to kill him. Obviously they did.
I don't want to say they wanted to kill him. They wanted him to die.
They counted on him dying. Absolutely. So I mean, my whole thing is I feel as though right now Karen Read is absolutely innocent. And it's just one step towards getting John O'Keefe justice ultimately. Because I would love to know who was responsible for his death actually, but right now it's amazing to me that there are actually people that still believe that she's guilty. It's mind-blowing to me, actually.
There's not a piece of there isn't a piece of organic evidence. I see you here, Sheila. We'll get you in there. And if Julie, if you star some of these, we'll go through them here in a couple of minutes. There is no organic evidence that points to her guilt. None. Other than I hit him, and I don't even think that's organic. I think that was made up. So
I don't even think there's anything that could be counted as circumstantial that's strong enough to be considered circumstantial evidence. It's everything. There's nothing but doubt. Everything that the prosecution claims to be evident is riddled with doubt.
Yeah. It's all synthetic, planted, made up. Everything had to be, and I've said this on Twitter, so forgive me, those of you who read my tweets. Everything that points to Karen's guilt is all manufactured, synthetic, planted evidence
with no evidence, no not custody, evidence log,
chain of custody,
chain of custody. Right. I did better in chain of custody in Afghanistan than these people, and I was in a war zone. Come on.
And I was on Melanie Little's channel recently. We discussed we discussed what was it? The Brian Walsh case. We went over the details in that, and we went over Michael Proctor's report, his request for a search warrant. And you can see that Michael Proctor is perfectly capable of conducting a very professional and thorough investigation.
Absolutely.
The case against Brian Walsh is airtight. So Michael Proctor did some really impressive, good, thorough police work. So we know it's not negligence. We know that these just aren't Barney Fife dumb cops out there in Massachusetts. These are well-trained, seasoned investigators, and they didn't apply any of this when it came to right. It has to be on purpose. It has to be, because there's too much. If it was just one slip up, I'd say, okay, well, even good cops make mistakes sometimes. But this is not. Yeah, this investigation, everything. It is the contrast, the direct contrast to the Brian Walsh investigation. Same investigators, but absolute contrast to the Brian Walsh investigation. And that screams corruption.
I want to know what Jen McCabe has on everybody, because the amount of bending over backwards and forwards and all the other dances that they do for her to protect her, I'm like, what does she have on? What does she have on everybody?
Nothing.
Because
I think they all have something on each other. My opinion on that is that they're all. People keep saying, well, somebody would have talked by now. If there was a conspiracy, somebody would have ratted by now. First of all, we're talking about Bostonians. That doesn't happen. Right. Second of all, they all have something to lose. They're all they can all be implicated in some way. So they're all looking out for themselves. They're going to keep their mouth shut to cover each and every one of their own asses. So I don't want to hear this. Oh, well, somebody would have talked by now. No, they wouldn't have. No way.
Well, I think the person who explained this the best, Jess, getting to your point, was, and by the way, shout out to Mike Crawford. Mike Crawford is battling COVID, so he canceled his shows this weekend. We love you, Mike, and we hope that you feel better. Yeah. Shout out to Mike and your boy.
Yeah, man.
Okay. Here's the thing, Jess. Shannon McMahon, former prosecutor, former, I don't know if she was a DA or assistant DA from Plymouth or something. She ran for major office or she ran for district attorney in Plymouth. She said, the way a conspiracy like this happens is not a bunch of people sitting around a table like with Dr. Evil, stroking a cat and all that stuff. What happens is it starts with one thing. An incident happens, and I said this on the last show, Will. I said, the moment that a investigating officer in charge stood on the lawn of Brian Albert, the investigation began. The moment that officer, whether it was an MSP officer or initially the Canton PD officers, the moment that they decided not to knock on Brian Albert's door, the investigation was over. Because at that moment, they had decided that this has to go a certain way.
Yep.
Now you have to start with little things, and they're called concentric circles. We start with a small circle, and it gets larger and larger and larger. And at first, we got to, okay, what happened? All right, someone here says, Jen McCabe calls back a couple hours later and says, oh, I just had a memory. I remembered that I heard Karen say I did it. And then she calls, then the ambulance folks say, oh, yeah, I heard her say I did it, whatever. Now they have to go in a theory. She said her taillight was cracked. So then what's-his-name has to go get a warrant. And Peter Murphy told us he could have gotten a warrant to go in Brian Albert's house had it been Brian Smith. In 30 to 45 minutes, he could have gotten a judge with a dead Boston police officer. He could have got a search warrant for that house in 30, 45 minutes.
Sure.
That notwithstanding. So now we got to go get her car. Now we have the cracked taillight. Okay, what do we have to do? The first thing is we have to not take a photo of the car, which Betterow said on Kim's show last night. They had an amazing episode, 2 or almost 3 hours of Kim and Betterow. He said that the most basic thing is when you go and seize the vehicle, you take photos of the vehicle and the taillight. Well, you can't do that because if you do, you'd be providing evidence to the defense. So you can't do that. Then you have to get it. You have to pass 2 Massachusetts police Sally ports and go to the Canton Sally port. Then we can smash the taillight and into 45 pieces. So So then
The
okay,
frame up the frame job, in my opinion, was absolutely designed to get Karen Reed, was designed around the idea that Karen Reed would take a plea.
Absolutely.
So that's why it was done so lazily. That's why it was done, because they never expected it to get to trial to where they'd have to explain the evidence, how they got it. They never thought that they'd get to that point. And so that's why it's so sloppy, in my opinion, because again, now we know for a fact that these people know how to conduct a thorough investigation. We know that they do.
yeah.
So based on that, I mean, if they expected it to go to trial, we'd know that they'd probably be capable of doing a better job framing an innocent woman too. Everything screams that they were that they're every action that they did, that they performed here in this investigation, dictates to me that it was surrounding the idea that Karen Reed would take a plea. Say, well.
And by the way, jail Karen Reed people, they didn't find one piece of taillight on the lawn. The investigating officers from Canton, not one piece of taillight.
I just want to know who confirmed that I had a Lexus and I had a different model, but Lexus is incredibly, and I'm sure you guys have heard this on Nurse Kim's page. Lexus is incredibly safety conscientious with their vehicle parts. For instance, they do not put like most like driver or back hands-free parking and all that other jazz. They let basically, when it comes out, they'll let that technology go for a year on other vehicles and put in Toyotas and things like that to make sure all the kinks are worked out before they put the technology into their vehicles. No one confirmed that taillight was Lexus OEM part. Nobody, from what I understand. And yeah, that's one thing that's just amazing that nobody asked. I mean, who verified that it was that Lexus part? I mean, does anybody know?
I don't know.
I have no idea.
I just don't think that material, when smashed, I think they did the test. I think when they do the test again, I think what they're going to do, Jess, is they're going to get, if you've seen on those shows like those, it's Forged in Fire, where they have bodies and they'll go and make swords and stuff and they'll strike these bodies and it's all realistic, like it has internal organs. They need to get one of those, put it in a parking lot, get a Lexus 470 or 460, whatever it is, and then back it up at 24 miles an hour and hit it. Because I also don't believe the cocktail glass was with John. I don't believe that.
Well,
I
the
think
thing
they
is
planted that
the
cocktail
ARCA
glass,
guys,
but anyway.
the ARCA guys did their own, recreations and everything, and the jury just didn't. It just went right over their heads because they assumed they were hired by the defense.
Yes.
So I mean, but we know the nature of the ARCA experts and why they conducted these things.
And don't get me started with Plevin and ARCA. Sorry.
Oh yeah.
I'm going to tell you what I was going to tell you on our private chat, Will, that I didn't get to tell you, is that there is and Julie, this will resonate with Julie, our chat moderator in there.
Thank you, Julie.
Definitely, thank you, Julie. You've had, she's just so smart. There's the analogous persons. Lou Elizondo, the former Pentagon GS-15, is basically Sean McDonough. And then Plevin is basically this former very bright video game creator, a British man who lives in California out in Silicon Valley named Mick West. He's the number one debunker in the UFO world. But what I do as far as those guys is when they say, and we'll get this Christine startup because we're going to go to questions after this, is that if I were Sean, and he's developed an amazing audience, I mean, he's probably well over 35,000 followers after the last time I looked. I don't respond to them when people have come after Calling All Beings, our UFO Bigfoot show and a paranormal show, and they have said stuff. I what they want is my attention. They want me to say something to let them know that I care what they say. So when Kevin, the fact that they can infer, if I respond to their tweet, they can at least infer I care what they said. If I mute or block them, and they, or even if I just mute them and I don't block them, so because if I block them, they know they're blocked, right?
Yeah.
They can tweet and tweet and tweet. DJ, Calling All Beings, you guys are grifters, you guys are frauds. And if I don't respond to them, it pisses them off because they can't tell that I care.
Yeah.
And if I respond to them, they know I care. And they know I play. Now I'm giving them the benefit of my platform and letting all of my viewers and followers see what they said. Instead, as far as I'm concerned, Kevin, they don't exist. They don't exist. They could say DJ is, you could fill in the blank after that. I'm not even going to respond to them.
Yeah. My only thing is that I DJ, I don't know if I told you this. When I got to Afghanistan, this is my connection with ARCA. So when I got to Afghanistan, we had 3 Air Force EOD techs that burned alive in an MRAP that had not been fit out with ARCA technology as far as the seatbelt and everything else. Mm-hmm. And once, and literally, I'm not joking, probably within not even a few weeks, the ARCA technology and things like that had got into the MRAPs, and I was in one that hit an explosion, and I'm alive because of that technology. So that's why I get so upset about people who are like, they just run their mouths.
They don't know what they're talking about.
They have no clue. And it's like, but then again, you're right. I mean, whatever.
I don't. So if we go from 0 to 100 of care factors, so like I care what all my friends say, all these people here, I care, like I'm at that 100 level. Mike and Blair and all of you guys, right? When you start getting to like a KP or you get to a Plevin, you see the number 0, and there's no negative numbers after that. So I'm at 0. I can't, I would like to care less, but I'm unable to care less than 0 of what they think. So this is the reason why. So that's my approach. But that notwithstanding, let's go to questions. This is where y'all can find Blair. Julie put it in the chat. If you click on that link, it will take you to his page. You're going to see that he's a lot sexier and better looking than me. And then hit the subscribe button, please.
I'm about all that, man.
All right. Now, let's get to the stat. Oh, first of all, thank you, Team Brittany. What's up? Thank you, homegirl. Hey,
Team
guy
Brittany's
on the left.
Awesome.
Blair, your most important guest ever, and he doesn't speculate on rumor. Well, okay, I do. No, I don't want to use the words speculating, Brittany. I'm going to say hypothesizing, because we have to, just even what the police do, if they were actually investigating this, which obviously they're not, but if they were, they would be trying to find a motive for why someone in the house did that. And that's something that we have to do, because we have to establish why you would let a fellow officer die, and it's not going to be because Brian Higgins didn't like him and wanted to fight him. I mean, that's not a motive for murder. A motive for murder
for me either. Yeah.
No, it's just not. So I've not really thought about Colin Albert very much since I've been following or covering this case. But anyway, thank you very much for the 5. I greatly appreciate that. All right. So
Team Brittany's awesome. She's a mod for me and Melanie Little as well.
Dude, and you and Melanie got such a great vibe, man. I love.
It's so good. It's so good.
Yeah,
he's a mod for WFLA News too. The
really?
Dude, the dude that looks like Jeff Goldblum, kind of.
Oh, really?
I love that guy. I forget his name, but he's awesome. But she's a mod for him too.
WFLA News.
Yeah,
okay.
Like Bruno, I think.
Guy? Oh, wrong one.
I think his name is Bruno. Is it Bruno?
Bruno.
Okay, wrong.
JB. JB, yeah. Hey
Yeah.
JB. Yeah, you got to say hey
Man,
JB
she's
in the chat.
Team Brittany's busy.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get this one in. So reality check says, but the rumor has it that his buddy Rick said he saw John go in the house. So I kind of think that because his ex-girlfriend and Rick were going to say that they didn't see him in the car. Yeah, I mean,
I don't speculate on rumor, man.
Yeah,
I can't do anything with that.
Yeah, he went in the house. Okay. Samantha, do you want to read this one? Glare.
You want me to read it?
Yeah.
Brian Albert killed John O'Keefe. Higgins pulled dog off of John O'Keefe's arm. Higgins' ex told the feds he called her that AM crying, saying he didn't know why Brian Albert took it too far and pulled the dog off John O'Keefe. Brian Albert and Higgins out. John O'Keefe out by flag. Left him out. Okay. Where did you get that information? Because that's very, very detailed and very specific. I mean, if that's true, you cracked the case. So is it any of that actually based on fact or
also Samantha, there was one thing we have not mentioned this evening was the injuries on Colin Albert's hand that he claimed was him trying to break his fall with his knuckles.
Right.
So yeah. So,
and he's never been in a fight before.
Right, and he's never been in a fight. Everything they say is just so stupid.
Right. That's the whole thing is that everybody up there lied on the stand. I don't know. I don't know what happened, but everyone lied. Like there's first of all, I'm going to say this. I've been to 34 Fairview. I saw the lawn with my own eyes. There is absolutely no way that all of those people walked out the front of that house, went to the driveway, got in their cars, and did not see John O'Keefe lying in that lawn. If I think
Juliana Nagel saw her own reflection in the window of the blog.
Yeah. I think I'm gonna drive by there myself because believe it or not, I've roped in one of my friends from the Bigfoot community. Tim Halloran was just in Canton to have a meeting, and he stayed overnight. And he called me and said, "Hey, DJ, I'm in Canton. And he went by the house and he said, yeah, the same thing. It looks real. It doesn't look like when you guys look at Turtle Boy's background, the front yard looks really huge in Turtle Boy's background, but everyone that's driven by said it's very small.
Could have all those cars fit? Oh,
6 cars will fit in that driveway.
Okay.
So, I mean, it's a 6 car. It's been widened probably since it's wider than the garage. The driveway is. All right. Danielle Alexander wants you to wave. Would you do that, Claire, for Danielle? There you go.
Hi, Danielle.
Got a lot of fans, man. Let's see. Phoebe MC to the DOGG says, I don't think they necessarily have covered for Higgy, but no one has overtly thrown him under the bus. It may come to that when push comes to shove, but thus so far they've let it just play out. Well, yeah, I mean, you don't have to do anything right now. I mean, there's nothing, they're not under the gun. There's no pressure on them. What do they need to do? Mello's arrest warrant says protecting Colin.
They're definitely protecting Colin. That's something for sure. But I'm saying my whole thing is, I'm not convinced that they're protecting him because he murdered John O'Keefe. I'm saying that they're protecting him because he's family and he's the baby of the family. He's Chris Albert's son. He's Brian Albert's nephew. And why wouldn't they protect him? It seems like a very tight-knit, protective family. So
okay, let's say it like this, Will. Did they have to protect Juliana Nagel from prosecution here? Or from
well, I mean, I don't know. Again, Juliana Nagel talking about seeing a black blob laying there and not saying anything is not a believable story. So I absolutely feel that she's absolutely aware of what happened in that house, and she's covering for somebody because she again could be held accountable. She's an EMT.
She's a nurse, right? Or EMT.
Yeah, she's an EMT. So why wouldn't she help him? Why wouldn't her instincts kick in and go, is that somebody in the lawn? Stop the car. Hold on. I just got to make sure. All
right. So
I would do that.
So let's turn it to another person. Carrie Roberts. Is anybody trying to cover for Carrie Roberts?
The pick me girl.
It doesn't
No,
matter
I
what
could
name
resist.
I say. The point I'm trying to get at is it obviously something happened there that probably scared the shit out of everybody in the house that knew about it, even though it happened in the basement. And everybody's trying to cover for this one kid, to include the injuries on his knuckles. So there must be a reason that they're trying to do that. They're not trying to cover for all these other people. They're trying to cover for this one kid. There's got to be a reason other than that he's a juvenile. That's not enough, because there was other girls in the house. They're not trying to cover for them.
Well, he's not a juvenile.
Well, at the time he was 18, whatever. The
Right.
point I'm getting at, the point I'm getting at is everybody's focused on protecting him for a reason. And the only reason I can think of is his fist would tell you the answer, is he must have been involved somehow in the altercation. He had to have been involved in something. Otherwise, they could be trying to protect any other person there. No, that person wasn't there.
No, I believe that he was involved in the altercation for sure. Of course, the injuries to his hand dictate this. The lies on the stand dictate this. The beef between them dictate this. So Colin was definitely in the house. John O'Keefe was definitely in the house. And everyone is lying to protect Colin. For
some
what reason, I don't know. Carrie Roberts, you mentioned. I think Carrie Roberts. I don't think Carrie Roberts actually knew at the time what was happening. Whether she knows now what happened or whatever, I don't know. But I think that Jen McCabe is in her ear quite a bit, and she KPs her. You know what I mean? She puppet masters her. So I think that she plays off of Carrie Roberts' obsession with John and jealousy over the women that he dates, because she's always loved him, I guess. And I think that Jen McCabe is probably using that to manipulate her. But I don't think that Carrie Roberts is lying to protect anyone necessarily. I just think that she is going along with whatever narrative the McCabe's and the Alberts are feeding her.
By the way, Hera has made her appearance in the
I
studio.
love it.
Hera, there you go,
Aw.
Hera. So
Beautiful cat.
she's going to end up having to get kicked out because she will eventually step on the computer or attack the computer.
Right.
So that's just Hera. Hera, don't mess with the microphone.
That's
Anyway.
funny.
Yeah,
so
Clubber doesn't let me stretch my feet out because he likes to plant himself right under my. There we go, buddy. Thank you,
Hera. No,
And Hades
would
just
you-
started barking.
Would you read that one, Jess, right there from Scott? Because I know where he's going with this.
Hello, Scott. One of my favorite moderators.
Scott. Yeah, he's a mod for me too, and Melanie.
What's up,
Little as
Scott?
well.
At DJ, in what states would court? Oh, sorry. In what states court would evidence, quote unquote, be admitted after a crime scene is released to the public?
So he's referring to the 9 hours between when the Canton Police Department abandoned the scene, 8 or 9 hours, I think it was, and the MSP took control of that scene. So that would not happen, Scott. I mean, you just would not do that. I mean, I've been watching British crime shows lately. I mean, they literally have tents up. They have a suit on to where they're completely covered head to toe,
like
masks,
hazmat. Yeah.
So thank you, like hazmat, gloves, the whole 9 yards. And this idiot has the gall at the Canton Select Board meeting to say, "Oh, that was good thinking to use the Solo cups and the Stop and Shop bag." I mean,
the
do you
leaf
think
blower, right?
And this is what upsets Analyze. Analyze was going to come on tonight, and she said, they think we're so stupid, the way that they speak to us, and that's what really irritates her, and it really offends me as a New Yorker.
That's
I'm
what
not
it is
dumb.
for me too. Like
Yeah.
Scott is actually a retired New York City police detective.
What's up, brother?
Yeah.
What's up, Scott?
So he's asking because it's rhetorical. He knows.
Yeah.
It's
Of
not a
course
real
you know.
question.
No,
He
I
knows
could
that
tell.
that's not a thing. Like he He knows that you don't, you know what I mean? Like there's something really shady just from the beginning about how this case was handled. There's no ever any investigation where I have read reports for probable cause affidavits, nothing like that, where I have seen that the scene wasn't secured immediately and I mean held down tight, and I mean we're talking about a Boston cop here. So
yeah, I mean Duty Ron and Eddie said, I don't know what, I'm not sure what Hera's eating right now. Hera,
Hopefully
she's
no
trying to eat
cords.
gum. Yeah. So don't mess with the cords. But anyway, I told you she was going to attack the computer at some point. Duty Ron and Ed said, "What?" He goes, "Why did they not get a tent out there and a space heater and melt the snow beneath beneath where the John's body was laying, the entire crime scene? Basically, you would want to do, a majority, if not all, of the front yard." He said, "What do you think?" He goes, "Hey guys, Massachusetts, I mean, it snows there. What do you think they do in Norway? What do you think they do in Iceland? What do you think they do in Finland and Canada?"
So if I want to be a serial killer, I'll just move to Norway.
That's it, man. Yeah. They'll just take a backpack
obviously
blower
you can't. Yeah, obviously you can't solve a crime when it's snowing.
No, you can't. And there's no way for you to melt the snow. It's impossible to melt the snow and see what the evidence could be beneath, because we haven't invented a technology yet that would enable us to do that. Like, we don't have a way to do it.
Probably not in their budget.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's not. Well, it's not in their budget because you have officers making $300,000 a year.
Yeah.
Right. And just to see Gallagher
I'm with you, Scott.
sitting there going, that's normally not what we would do. No,
it's not what we would do there. There's a man lying in the lawn at 34th Fairview, and I'm Jen McCabe. Scott, I feel you, brother. I knew where you were going with that question. I figured you were a pro. All right, let's get to some questions right here for the Glare. This is you.
Why'd Higgins say he did a sweep of the driveway when it hadn't started snowing enough to sweep anything? I don't know. Nothing about Higgins' story makes sense to me. Because now, I mean, we didn't find out until trial that Higgins' Jeep was parked right there. And so that makes it even like he was the first to arrive, right? So why right there, that makes it even less believable for me that Karen would have backed into him at that speed and not, you know what I mean? The road's slippery. She's, you know what I'm saying? Like, nobody heard a noise. She didn't back into Brian Higgins. John O'Keefe didn't hit Brian Higgins' plow in the front of the Jeep. It makes no sense. So, I don't buy that at all. I don't buy for 1 second that Brian Higgins plowed the front of the driveway before he left or whenever he says he did. I mean, I don't buy anything he says. I don't believe anything he's saying.
Well, why would you go back to the police station when you've been drinking all? There's a couple things that just guy culture we don't do. When we're done at the second after party after drinking at 2 other bars, I'm going home, going to bed. I'm not going over to Canton Police Department to move the car for the next day. So we don't. Yeah. So we know that's a lie. The second thing I'm not doing is after we're done with all that and I've spent the evening, I'm not calling Brian Albert to go, "Hey, how's it going, buddy? I know I just left." It's like, yeah, I'll talk to you tomorrow, dude. I'm going to bed. Like, guys don't do that. So we know you're a liar, Brian, and we also know you're a liar, Brian. All right. Samantha Merriman. I got sources, folks, close to the case, and Levinson also flipped to the FBI. You know, Samantha,
should you be telling us this, though?
Lord, hear our prayer. Lord, hear our prayer, Samantha, that you are right. I pray that she flipped and that somebody will get arrested. Somebody
Who's Levinson again?
Sarah Levinson?
Sarah Levinson.
Is that not her name? Yeah.
Blonde.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Got it. All right.
Because they need to arrest somebody young that has a lot to lose. Because I believe, or at least I think, that if they were to arrest, for example, a Brian Albert, I don't know that he would necessarily flip on anybody. He would just think, I'm going to jail and it's over. I'm not sure he would. Say again. What do you think?
Or they lose him. He'd go on the run. He'd become his own fugitive task force.
He'd be, yeah. They'd have the strike team. They'd get Vic Mackey and and the strike team.
I mean, that would just be the greatest
Shield.
ending of
That's the impression I get from Brian Albert. Like, he's got Vic Mackey vibes. Like,
Totally. 100%. He thinks it's Vic Mackey, who's also ironically from Massachusetts.
Right. Everyone is scared of Brian Albert. Like, he clearly sat with Colin Albert and Kerry Roberts and Jen McCabe in the courtroom that day for the purpose of intimidating that jury. I absolutely believe that.
So, Melissa, I feel what you're saying right here. The only thing that we don't have, love, is we need a motive to let him die. And that is not something that's not consistent with these two guys. I think with anyone in the house, there had to be a reason that they wanted him to die. And the only reason I can come up with is someone must have committed a felony assault on him that they thought would not be excused. He
was aware of another felony, or he was aware of something that they wanted.
It's possible, Will, but that's external to everything we know. Now we're conjecturing outside of the event. If we look at the events itself for what we know.
Well, that's my point is even still, that's I just can't jump on that. Right. I mean, it's possible. To me, that's your scenario is just possible as any other scenario. You know what I mean? No more, no less, honestly.
I have to find a reason they would let him die. That's the only thing.
Well, I agree. Yeah, we don't have a motive on. We normally, that's the first thing I'm looking at is a motive. The first thing. And you can ask anybody who followed me from the beginning. I was like, I kept harping on that. I was like, I need a motive here. I'm not going to speculate as to who killed him because I don't have a motive.
We don't know.
The problem though is we do know that he was in the house. Mm-hmm. And we do know that Karen Read didn't hit him with her car. So there's only one other place to go, which is inside 34 Fairview. So I don't need a motive at this point to know that whatever happened to him happened inside that house. The problem is that I can't even speculate as to who did what because I have no idea what happened inside that house.
Well, we have an idea. Well, but now I feel I didn't have any idea until like 24, 48 hours ago. Now I think I have an idea because we had to have a motive for them to allow him to die. And I never thought of it. And I never used that context or framework. I don't want to say that someone murdered him, even though the law.
That's where we disagree because.
Well, hold on. Let me just finish. The law will charge someone with murder if they knew everything that happened. They would, because someone struck a blow that resulted in his death. So the law would call them a murderer. And it would try them as a murderer legitimately. Sure. What I'm saying is what actually occurred though is there was an injury that they decided not to treat that resulted in his death. And to go to that length, given the facts that we know beyond, without extending beyond the four corners of the waterfall, Karen, Brian, sexting, all these kinds of things beyond the waterfall, 34 Fairview, and CF McCarthy's. If I just use that prism, the interactions between John and just by what we know that has transpired between the individuals who were present at the two locations and at the party, that's where I come up with Colin Albert. Because they would have to say that this is so egregious that if he talks, somebody will be charged with felony assault. And the person who's most exposed, Brian Albert, has obviously committed a number of felony assaults. He broke that bottle over the Boston fireman's head. He beat up the guy at the Marine Corps ball and kicked him in the face. And other ones that Sean McDonough has alluded to. Brian Higgins, I don't know a lot about his history other than, like we talked about, him being socially awkward. So The only other thing we have is the person who's exposed is Colin, because if he's charged with felony assault, it reshapes where his future is going to be. It does not reshape the future of Brian Higgins or Brian Albert, because they can still get a retirement. Apparently, it seems like even Proctor can get his retirement even after being kicked off the force. So anyway, I'm not saying this
Olivia
is what
Niles
happened.
here.
So go ahead, love. Hey,
Sorry,
what's
hi
up?
Olivia.
Hi, doggy. Oh, Olivia Lambo's here.
Yeah.
Let me.
Yeah.
Oh, we got to say hello to her. And I got to go back to that one that I just starred. Where is she? I don't. Olivia. Hey, holy guacamole! You're overthinking. Okay. Hey, this. I am just. I was. Olivia, I'm just trying to come up with a hypothesis. That's all. I'm not saying he did it. I know he did it. I don't know. I'm trying to come up with a motive. That's all I'm trying to do. But I do want to, while you're here, I want to say, I've said it on the last show. We profiled some of your work when I think I had Nurse Kim on. That show you did with Sean was absolutely amazing. What you taught us about hash values and complete forensic downloads of a phone that are unaltered, and you're absolutely amazing. So thank you so much. Dying to have you on the show. I did send you a DM, so you will see a DM from at Call All Beings, and it's a bald-headed person with sunglasses. That's me, because we would love to have you on. You're just absolutely amazing. So
and
anyway,
Olivia, I flushed one of my AirPods.
Yes.
She is
Go ahead,
a
say again, love.
valuable source of insight.
Yes.
Actually.
Namaste, Olivia. Absolutely amazing. Your work is just what we learned. I did not understand all of the cell phone information at the trial, and it wasn't until you explained it to Sean that I understood it, that those singular, unique identifying fingerprints associated with each transaction on the phone, whether it be a search, a text, a call, etc. Now I understand it. So thank you. More. That's what's up. And let me know if you want to come on here and talk about it, because I'm dying to have you on. Totally fanboying out, and I'm not ashamed to say it. Should I be?
Yeah, I'm a big Olivia Nile fan as well. Yeah. I don't
amazing.
mind fanboying for anybody.
No,
if it's due, it's due, man. Like
I know, like Nurse Kim, I would be the president of her fan club.
I'm a Kevin Keane fanboy for sure.
Kevin, hey, I don't know. Have we spoken before, or have you been on here? I'm not sure. Okay,
he's got a podcast. I was a guest on his podcast once. Yeah. Oh my God, it's a really clever name too. It's a rock, like a music podcast. And I feel like a dick now because I forgot, because it's a really clever name too.
Kevin, could you put it in the chat?
Yeah, Kevin, tell us what the name of your podcast is.
Julie
it's great. I had a lot of fun talking to him. And Chris Loring joined us too. He's the guy who does the Free Karen Read song that I play. Yeah, he's the guy who did that. And so it's a hard rock life. There it is. Yeah.
I love it.
It's a hard rock life. I remember that from Austin Powers as well. Okay, so let's get Kevin's in here. Why wouldn't the cops set up construction barrels with police tape if the wind was so bad? At least they could have gotten them from the water department. That is, if the cops didn't have them already. Yeah, I mean, my answer to this is everything. It's kind of like I tried out for this play at college one time, and I was basically reading for a part, and then you'd go out and they would basically give you sort of a screen test. And he said, I want everybody to come out in a dancing conga line, but I want you to do it wrong. I want you to not look cool. So everybody came out of like the doorway dancing, and you had to dance like your most ridiculous, worst dance. So that's what they did, is everything was done. And obviously Will and I are in alignment on this. Everything was done purposely incorrectly so as not to provide any exculpatory evidence to Karen. And if they would have done it correctly, it would have excluded Karen, and they didn't want that. So you couldn't do that.
All of the evidence is practically exculpatory. Almost all of it. I mean, it's crazy. Like anything, like if it's not solid beyond a reasonable doubt evidence, then it's exculpatory to some degree, in my opinion, at least. You know, I'm sure any lawyer will disagree with me, but I mean, to me, all of these things, this lack of an investigation that took place as a whole is exculpatory evidence, in my opinion.
Yes, I agree. And the only thing that isn't exculpatory are the things they presented. I hit him. That's basically their entire case.
That is, but I mean, nobody credible testified to this. So, I mean, the credibility of those witnesses is down the tubes. You have Jen McCabe saying it. Jen McCabe lied like crazy on the stand.
Again and again and again.
And then you had Caitlin McCullough. I forget her last name.
Oh, you're talking about the EMT,
right? And
I know who you're talking about, yeah,
she was best friends with Caitlin Albert,
right?
So,
right. Oh, well,
I mean,
we went to the. I mean, I knew her in high school. It's like, well, wait a minute. You were just at a baby shower like 6 months ago, and you visited each other in college, and you went to the beach. Yeah.
Right. And of course, Bev wants to block that evidence.
Yeah.
McLaughlin, thank you.
McLaughlin, yep.
Bev wants to block that evidence, but of course, that has nothing to do with the fact that she has a brother who represented Chris Albert when he killed somebody.
Right.
Of course, that has nothing to do with anything, you know. So, I mean, this whole thing stinks. The whole thing reeks.
The effort to make sure that the right evidence doesn't get in is just an effort. I mean, that's exhausting just listening to it. Like,
right.
I'm a logic person.
Totally. If you are acting in the interest of justice, you are going to make vastly different decisions than Judge Beverly Cannoni made as a judge.
Yeah, I don't think justice is what she's after. Katie McLaughlin. Yeah, you're right. I think I don't think justice is what she's after. I think what she's after is to finger Karen Read for this murder, and just go along with maybe they talked about there was a relationship between somebody in Michael Morrissey's family and maybe Judge Bev's mother, and
their moms.
They worked in the cafeteria together. So there's just too many. She's a townie. And I come from a town that's like that. And to a degree, I'm a townie. But guess what? If somebody kills somebody or does something like this, I'm diming you out, man.
Yeah.
Just like the Las Vegas cops, Gonzo and Brian said, I'm diming you out. I want to answer. So Scott says exactly, Will, it's not what you know, it's what you can prove. And the only thing that can be proven is that Officer O'Keefe was assaulted and not hit by a car, and Karen didn't do it. You're 100% right. And that you are 100% right. That is exactly what the defense, their tact needs to take. They need to take as a defense team is not focus on the conspiracy theory, but focus on how there's reasonable doubt. And if there's reasonable doubt, that means you acquit her. For me, Scott, just like I did with UFOs when I cover that topic, is I'll hypothesize about things. And I have a lot more expertise when it comes to aviation and UFOs and what could potentially be an unidentified aerial phenomenon and what could be a terrestrial aircraft. But in this case, for the fun of it, basically, I'm trying to hypothesize and figure out what motive would there be. Not that it's going to lead to anything, not that they can prove it, not that it matters more than because we're sitting here talking about it. So that's my take on that. All right. It is time to get the glare out of here. The Vegas cop daddies. Something like you like the guns, right? Of Gonzo and Brian.
Those guys are awesome, man. Like those guys didn't come a moment too soon, because they said everything that I wanted to hear from law enforcement agents. I mean, I was hearing it. I hear it from Scott. I hear it from Sean McDonough, but to hear these guys go, wait a second. Like, as soon as we heard about this case, we're thinking, how are we going to secure the crime scenes? First thing they get into is like everything from the beginning was done wrong here. Like, there's no way that they're like, not only for a dead cop, not only would we have secured the house, but we would have secured the street.
Yeah.
Nobody would have been coming down the street ever. So not while we were investigating. And on top of that, they're like, we would have absolutely knocked on the door of that house and gone in that house. Like, you know, there's a cop dying on your lawn, dude. We need to go inside and make sure everybody's okay. You know, that's, I mean, it's very simple. That the fact that this stuff didn't happen and that there are people, and I'm going to quote Turtle Boy here verbatim, the dumbest people in the world think that Karen Read is guilty. The Plevins of the world.
Yep.
Verbatim.
And they're
because I watched the video where Plevin tried to troll him and trolled himself, and Joe Flipper had clipped it for me, and I watched it over and over again and laughed like a maniac every time I watch it. I laugh. It's so good.
What'd you have? Did you want to say something, Jessica? Go ahead, ma'am.
Well, first I would like to say I would like to know what play you're auditioning for when you did that dance, and we would actually like to see that done on a live stream, only because I grew up in theater and dancing and all that jazz, which, by the way, I want to be in the band. I did sing with Queen Latifah growing up, so I called dibs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right on.
So, my last duty station was Cannon Air Force Base. And there was a soccer team there of kids, and we used to. A lot of them were international, and since my wife's from Brazil, we would have the kids over, and just so they weren't like didn't have a home to go to. So one of them told me, "Oh yeah, they're having a tryouts for a play," and they asked. I said, "Well, can people from the town who aren't attending the college can we try out?" And they said, "Yeah." And I went out on stage, I spoke. And that got me through to an audition. And Othello, I think, was one. The second one, I don't remember. I know I didn't get selected for the two I auditioned for. The one I auditioned for that day. The second one, they actually asked me, could I do the part and come to rehearsal? And it turned out, as you know, Jessica, I got deployed again to Afghanistan, and that was the end of me being in a college play. So anyway, but it was fun to go out there and as a 40, and what was I at the time, 42 or 43-year-old, and do it. So anyway,
that's awesome.
All right, there's way too much about me in this episode. I want to thank you guys for being in the chat and doing all your damn business.
Yeah, they're awesome.
And there you go. This is what. Thank you, Samantha. You are making us feel whole and making us feel good. And Katie McLaughlin, I hit him story. I know. Jen McCabe wouldn't know the truth if it slapped her in her face. So
She knows the truth. She knows the truth.
She wouldn't know how to speak. Okay, she wouldn't know how to speak the truth. Maybe that's the right word.
Yeah. I'm with you on that.
So, Blair, tell us what you got coming up and what's happening soon on the show.
Dude, I wing it every time, man. And whenever there's a development, I go live, I talk about it, I give my opinions on it, and that's it. There's nothing organized about what I do. Absolutely nothing.
Well, I know I'd like to organize another show with you on it. It was an absolute pleasure having you on. The audience obviously loves you. And look, we even got Jessica to make her first appearance on air.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. Well, it's so awesome getting to officially meet you. Now maybe you won't ignore my chats in your chat. I feel ignored. I'm just kidding.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
I'm bad at interacting with the chat. That's why I have Cherry there. Cherry.
That's why you have people call in to know if they've been blocked.
Cherry's domain. Yeah. Cherry's domain is the chat.
She's awesome.
She is. She's great. As Batman would say, I couldn't find my socks without her. She's fantastic.
Hey, Ernie.
Is that a dog or a cat? What is Ernie? Is it?
Oh, Ernie. Ernie's one of the mods in Miss Shorty's group.
Oh, okay.
She just came in the chat.
But hi, Ernie. How are you? But somebody is what is that, a dog or a cat by your feet? Is that a cat or a dog?
Oh, me? That's my dog, Clubber. Yeah.
Clubber, as in Clubber Lang. I dig it.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I'm a big Rocky fan, as you can see.
Love Rocky, man. Rocky one of my favorite movies ever.
I love them
So,
all. I love the
yeah.
Creed movies, all of it. Yeah.
Dig it, man. Dig it. And we dig you. I want to thank you for coming and doing this. And we hope to have you back again, have you on a round table or something. I think would be fun.
Anytime. I had a great time. Thanks for inviting me, man. I really appreciate it.
Pleasure. Jules, thank you, darling, for doing what you're doing. Thank you, Miss Jessica. To everybody out there, this is DJ saying peace out. One love. We'll see you down the road. And we're always wondering what's up around the bend.
Bye, guys.